another highway, mile after mile. Life on the road, it's a whole different style. Stories from the back.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Trucker Overhaul. In this episode, we're going to dive right into it. We're going to talk about how is life on the road for truck drivers. And we got a few topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to basically talk about what is a typical day, like as being a truck driver on the road. And how do you stay awake and alert on long trips? And what are some favorite road snacks that you could snack on while you're driving down the road, just to give a few examples of where this show gonna be headed at today. First, we're gonna start off with a typical day, life on the road as a truck driver. Pretty much you start your day out with your pre-trip, check the truck out, make sure everything is operating properly so you don't have no breakdowns down the road, because as a truck driver, that's like one of the things that you want to avoid at all costs, breakdowns. If you've been broke down on the side of the road, you know exactly what I mean by that. It could take anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours and up. It could be more than that. It just depends on what they got going on for that day. Especially like with these summer months, with these heat advisories, and it's taking a lot of toll on the trucks. The trucks are already high temperature engines. Then you add high heat, so that by itself could cause the truck to break down. It could have multiple things go on with the truck that'll cause the truck to break down. But one of the things that you need to do is pretty much make sure your truck is road ready. You're checking that truck like your life depends on it, because at the end of the day, it actually does. Your pre-trip will determine how much money you make in this industry and how far you go in this industry. As a truck driver, I know some people don't realize that you get 3 out of service violations, and they sideline you for at least 3 years. So meaning no trucking company not gonna really want to mess with you until those out of service violations drop off. So that's why it's imperative that you pre-trip your truck and try to avoid any violations, because that is what can make you and break you in this field. The number one thing that people run into is air leaks. So just make sure you pre-trip them trucks, get them trucks road ready, and after that, you doing your daily vehicle inspection report, letting the company know exactly what's wrong with the truck. If anything wrong with the truck, you get your trip that you heading out to pick up. Start heading to your pickup location. Of course, you got to deal with four-wheelers, traffic, weather, construction. It's a whole lot of things that you got to deal with. Even we deal with deers hopping out in front of the trucks. So it's more things than you deal with as a truck driver than in your personal vehicle. So once you make it to your pickup, then now you at their mercy. Now you gotta wait for them to load you, give you your paperwork, and it's a lot of moving parts in this. So if we get, as truck drivers, get held up at a shipper or receiver, that takes away our time from our clock. Just all around, it delays us. So that's why truck drivers always screaming about, hey, we need detention pay, because the time that it's taking us here, we could have been on the road making that. So we're just trying to give people the understanding that trucking is fun, it's adventurous. You get out here, you make your money, you meet people at the truck stops, and a lot of them are good people, and you just try to make the best out of it. But a lot of times, a day on the road, like you're really dealing with a lot as far as being away from your family. You're missing a lot of family events. It's a completely environment when you over the road. When you local, you're able to, talk to your meet up with your family. You get to sleep in your own bed. You get to, do things that your life pretty much don't change from any other typical job. Whereas when you're on the road, you pretty much, you driving 11 hours, working 14, and then you got to take a 10-hour break. Amongst that driving, you got to take another 30-minute break after 8 hours, or rather, within that 8-hour period. So it's a lot in the moving parts that a lot of people don't understand about trucking. So I know you want to come into trucking and you see the money, but a lot of it has, once you get out here and you realize, like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting to get, pushed like this, go through this as a truck driver. And it's really a bait. They show you how much you can make per mile. You start doing the calculations in your head. So what I do is, before I even come to a company, I pretty much just ask them, what is the average pay for a truck driver that you guys are paying? Because I know if you give me the average amount, then I know what type of driver I am. So all I gotta do is do more than that average, and I will make more in this industry. So it plays a lot, and you just want to be conscious so you don't fall into that category where you just out here. So, but like I said, it's a good industry to work for. Pretty much we do pickup deliveries. If everything checks out well and you able to ride, like flow down the road freely, you can make you some money in this field. Like, you can really get into the trucking industry and make money. So I've been doing it for almost 20 years, and it provided very well for my family. So, I got my family in, this predominant neighborhood. My children, they loving it. So it's a sacrifice that I was willing to take. So you picking up, you're driving, you deliver, you pick up again, you drive again. So that's the whole routine. So it's a lot of, depending on the areas of the divisions that you go into. You might have a long wait. Sometimes you do a lot of dropping hooks. It just depends on, what kind of division you go into. So, but yeah, as far as like, staying awake and staying alert on, these long trips, you just got to find you something to do while you're driving. I know there's a lot of, people out there that might disagree with me and argue and say, okay, well, how much could you do while you're driving? You just gotta find you some kind of snacks. The radio. Find some, talk to family, friends. Try to keep your eyes moving. Try to stay, alert to your surroundings. Know what's around you. If you constantly checking your mirrors, so it's pretty much a mindset thing to where you have to prepare your mind when you're out here. You just can't come out here and think that everything gonna be all peaches and cream, because when you get out here and you realize that, okay, these cars cutting me off, like this is not, like, it's crazy, like these people don't understand. You start fussing behind the wheel. So you start getting angry at the four-wheeler that just cut you off. You start seeing stuff that your mind just can't fathom. Like, okay, why would you, we only got 2 lanes. Why would you close 1 lane in a construction zone and high traffic times? So it's like, you have to mentally be stable out here. Staying awake, I would say that if you feel like it's time to stop, then you better stop. You don't want to be one of these trucks that ran off in the road because you fell asleep. Like I tell most of the new drivers, hey, you're the captain of the ship. If the ship go down, you go down with it. So that saying is true also in the trucking industry. If your truck go down, you go down with it. Like nobody else in the truck. You got your dispatchers at home. You got, all these people that are working in a terminal. They at home while you out here on the road. So you have to be the captain of the ship. You have to, you just can't stop whenever you, like, if you got to have a good reason to say, okay, look, I need to stop. So make sure you get, proper rest. Let your family know, hey, this is the time that I go to sleep. Only call me for emergencies. Because your family had to understand that you had to get your rest in order to make it back home to them. So get you enough rest. Try to, get out the truck, walk around the truck. I know they talk about the whole put some water in your face to wake you up. That only works temporarily. The best thing to do is for you to just go ahead and park and go to sleep. Get you a power nap in, 2-hour power nap in. You should be fine after that. If you still feeling groggy, tired, then just go ahead and call it, a day, and let the company know, hey, I'm getting tired out here. I need to get some sleep. And, they gonna hoop and holler, but at the end of the day, they rather you get to sleep than get into an accident. Because accidents cost them, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for you to get 8 hours of sleep, that's a good deal. Like, I'd rather you get the 8 hours, that the driver get the 8 hours sleep, than for me to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for an accident that could have been prevented. So make sure you get the proper rest. Make sure you stay hydrated out here, alert, because it is a long trip. Most drivers driving at least 500 miles a day. That's over the road drivers. They're driving at least 500 miles a day. Local drivers might drive 300 miles a day. But even with 300 miles, if you're not alert out here, you mess around and hit something, and that goes against your record. You get out here and hit something, and the company's gonna be screaming and hollering, why didn't you stop, or why didn't you get out and look? Like, it's if you don't want it to be your fault, then you got to do what you got to do. Now, what I normally do is, as far as the snack goes, I stop and get me, something, some hard candies, my favorite is, like, I get the Snickers, I used to get the M&Ms, but I can't really deal with like the peanuts and stuff. So I just get like the almond Snickers, and pretty much like I get like the trail mix. My wife make me this big thing of trail mix, and I pop that in my mouth as I'm driving down the road while I'm listening to the satellite radio, and it just keep it going. Like, you can't lose focus. You gotta maintain what you're doing out here, because you want to make it home to your family. Like, you don't want to get out here and lose your life because you feel like the money was more important. My wife constantly on me about, hey, you need to park, don't push yourself. If you feeling tired, go ahead and park that truck, because your family needs you to make it back home safe. So when I come out here, I look at it like, it's a mission. Anybody played like any type of video games or had a mission that they had to complete, like, you just, each his own. Like, you have to figure out what works best for you. But for me, that works to help me stay pushing. I cut my music on depending on how I'm feeling, what type of music I'm listening to. I pop a motivational speaker on, whatever I feel like that'll keep me up, because it's rough out here. I know a lot of people don't understand that about truck drivers. They see the trucks parked at the truck stops. They see us rolling down the road, but they're not looking at the typical day of a truck driver. As far as us trying to stay healthy, trying to stay fit out here, trying to stay hydrated, trying to stay awoke, trying to stay alert to our surroundings. So there's a lot of things that we deal with out here as a truck driver. We try to explain to our family so they could understand our job. Most people don't understand our job, and it can get frustrating out here. Like, you can lose your cool because people not understanding what it takes for you to get on down the road. So you can get frustrated. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that you're not going to come out here. That you're going to come out here and everything going to be on point for you. You're going to ride down the interstate with no traffic. You don't have to worry about no construction. You don't have to worry about no scale houses. Like, you just gonna be making your money. Like, this is not what this show is dedicated to. This is not this show's purpose. The purpose for this channel, this podcast, is to educate truck drivers, the general public, on what it's like as a truck driver, the circumstances that we go through as a truck driver, so they can understand that this is a challenging career. We all want to make it home safely to our family, and try to get them to understand and put themselves in our shoes. If there was that person behind that truck, would they want another vehicle to cut them off and rather either slow down and slam on brakes, because these trucks do not stop on a dime. As much as we want the trucks to stop, like, as soon as we hit the brakes, sometimes truck drivers stand up on the brakes and this truck still be going. So it's a challenge by itself. Like I said, you have to be mentally fit. You have to always be alert, anticipating, what's gonna happen. You see a car come up on the side of you, or you see another truck come up on the side of you. You don't know what mindset this person is in. You don't know if this person gonna cut you off. You don't even know if this person gonna swerve into your lane. You don't know if this person gonna get in front of you and slam on brakes. You just gotta be ready for it. You gotta know what you gonna do if this person do this. For the most part, I stay in the right lane. That way I can have a shoulder. As a truck passing me, I try to look behind the truck or look behind that car and see, do they have any other vehicles behind them? The reason why I do that is because as soon as they pass me, I know I got my shoulder open, and I know I got the left lane open. So that's why I'm saying you have to constantly be thinking. So that means you have to be alert. You got to be anticipating the unexpected. Like, you literally have to make that part of your mindset. You could go through the truck driving schools. You could talk to all these instructors, but until you get behind that wheel, that's the only way you're gonna realize what it's really like. I don't care what nobody tell you. You're gonna realize what it's like once you get your butt in that seat and start rolling and start spinning them wheels. You gonna understand real quick. Because it's like these commercials then pump so much into these people's head about filing a lawsuit against a trucking company, you get this much money for filing a lawsuit against a trucking company. But this is something that goes through a typical day as a truck driver. Like, you had to have that in mind, that these people are actually making money off you hitting somebody. So that means you have to be extra cautious, which is extra causing you to go into a fatigue state. So now just thinking of it drains you. And now you like, okay, shoot, what is it for? Like, you come out here, you trying to help the country and deliver this freight and still get no respect, no appreciation to what you do. Everybody is out for themselves. As soon as the trucking industry try to establish something that's beneficial to the truck drivers, it's a problem. But they give, so much to the trucking industry. And when I say trucking industry, meaning trucking companies, not the truck drivers, trucking companies. So they tell you, well, shoot, and then you wonder why these young people don't want to get into the trucking industry, because they don't see no benefit in it. Yeah, you get to travel across the United States and see all these different states, but if you can't enjoy it, where your options? Like, they saying, okay, well, sure, I'd rather be at home. I go take a vacation anytime I, feel like taking a vacation, and I'm still getting to see my family, and I ain't bouncing around in no truck. It's taking a toll on my body, and like, why would I go do something like that? And that's where you get into the talks about driver shortage. Well, these new millennium people don't want to come in and start driving the trucks. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. Well, sure. They looking at what the truck drivers go through. Like, how they look at truck drivers at the bottom of the barrel. Like, it's not even worth somebody coming into the trucking industry, because they looking at it like, okay, well, sure. Yeah, the money is there, but are they paying the money? Well, if they might be paying the money, but not giving you the miles. So you managing the pay that I get, and you managing the miles that I get. So it's not too hard of a decision to make for them. Whereas you got experienced drivers that's been doing it for as long as I've been doing it, and we trying to, trick ourselves like, okay, look, it's gonna get better. Yeah, it's gonna get better. Like, we're gonna start making this money. Like, one day they're gonna start appreciating us. One day we're gonna start getting this benefit. One day. That's how we keep. That's what we keep telling ourselves as truck drivers. So you ask me about a typical day as a truck driver. That's what it's like. So I have to, push the issue that trucking is not for everybody. As much as everybody want to be a truck driver, it's not for everybody. So I got to get up out of here, but next time on Trucker Overhaul, we're going to get more into depths on the trucking industry and some avenues that you could take to, self-improve yourself as a truck driver. But until then, this is Trucker Overhaul signing off. Follow us on all social media accounts at Trucker Overhaul. Until then, I will catch you guys next time. You be safe out there. Stay alert. Stay alert. Stay alert. Stay woke. Remember, the captain, go down with the ship. Remember that phrase, and you'll make your money. And I'm out of here.